Hello and welcome back to On the Workbench. Today we're taking a look at the Kobalt 24-volt pruner with removable extension pole. This is quoted to have up to 1.25 inch cut capacity, 36 to 44 inch cut range, up to 1,500 cuts. A relatively new tool for 2025. And so we're going to be taking a look at that today. So here's what we get in the box here. This comes in this large box. This isn't always the easiest tool to find in store if you're looking for this in store. We're going to open this up here and pull on the tabs back. Now that we got this open, you can see we've got a lot of cardboard here. Let's continue to open this up here. We've got really going to be what I expect to be 2 or 3 parts to this right here. We've got what I'll call the core of the tool here. We've got the pruners, there's the battery slot. But just as intriguing, if we move down here, all right, down here we've got our product lineup. This is something interesting that I wish was more obvious on the Lowe's website, what all is currently available in the 24-volt lineup. I might do a special video just about this. Drop me a line in the comments down below if you'd like to see that. We've got a scrunch and an Allen wrench here. We've got, of course, our user manual. And then back down here is our extension pole. So I don't know about you, but at least to me, one of the more intriguing parts of this is indeed this extension pole, because with this pole here, we can unscrew this little knob here, extend this to be able to have an increased cutting range. So in theory, this could replace a pair of loppers. I'm not sure this really replaces a pole saw. We've got a nice little reminder here that says handle position pointing up here. Down here at the base, if you attach the trigger or the extension pole, there's a little safety switch here you got to flick to be able to access. Battery would actually mount here. And then at this other end of the tool, before you can do it, there's a little card right here about the pruner. We'll go ahead and pull that off here. And it looks just like it is a Kobalt battery, kind of, but not really. So on one side here, you can see we've got a hook. And then we also have a clasp. Then we've got one of these teeth that's just a little bit longer than the other. I suspect I know why, and we'll get to that in just a bit here. Let's look at the tool itself here. So there's a little guard that comes on it here and a little guard there. So we've got what's basically a motorized set of pliers. This also might be very useful for cutting out clamshell packaging. We've got a power button here to turn this electronically off or on. This has what I'll call that next generation grip with the little hexagons in it, and a similar double action trigger to be able to activate this so you don't have an accidental activation, something that's not here, which I'm believe is intentional. A good thing that's missing is a belt clip. With something this sharp, you don't really want this accidentally going off next to your hip. And so now if we want to put this together, what we're actually going to do here is we're going to actually slide that in like a battery, but then you see this little hook here? This just comes right over the top over that and then latches down. So even if I were to unhook this, this still provides a secure connection for the pruner to be able to operate that and override the trigger here from an additional distance. To undo this, I'm just going to lift up on that. And this might take just a little bit to get the, there we go, just like that. Pull that out. And we've got just the handheld trimmer. The version of this that I've got here does not include the battery. I believe there's another option that includes the battery. And so depending upon where you are in the Kobalt brushless lineup, or the 24-volt lineup really, you probably don't need another battery or another charger. So I like that this is tool only. All right, so now I've got a 2 amp hour battery here. This is what I'm going to put on here to get started, because since this is a handheld tool, I'm not sure I really want to be jumping directly for the bigger batteries, because this is a tool meant to be used in the hand. It's got good balance with this battery here. I'm going to flick this up and pull this up, and nothing happens. You want to guess why? Well, because I didn't hit the on button back here to be able to power on the tool. Hold that down for a couple seconds. It even says press 2-second on, auto off after 60 seconds. It says it right there as a reminder. Green light on tells me that the tool is ready to use. Now, if I come back here, opens up. Very fast, no nonsense. It just cuts. You can see with the way this is set up here, there's a dual metal action here. Just want to set that apart from something that's a very similar but different. And that is the pipe cutter, the PVC cutter. Now this has a slightly larger capacity at the 2 inches. If I take the battery out here and change tools, there we go. That comes up there. Single blade, no extra counter blade to be able to cut. Not very efficient for most things. Basically cuts like a wedge. Slow and steady. Cuts it, but then to release it or to open it up, I'm pressing this button back here. And for storage, I will leave it closed just like that. Take the battery off. Come back here. All right, so you can see what I just did there is when I powered it off, it actually still stayed open. Not a good idea. I really want to store this with the blades closed. Question, how do you do that? Well, I'm going to have to power this back on again because this is battery powered. Now I'm going to press and hold the trigger. So now it's closed, and now I'm going to press and hold the button here. And now we got the blades closed to be able to store this. So this is not actively open, ready to cut something. A couple other notes here. You can take this apart to be able to sharpen and grind the blade to be able to keep that nice and sharp. You want to keep some extra debris and sawdust from building up in there and around the mechanism. You might take a little Q-tip or a little stick and clean out any debris that builds up there. And a little drop of oil back in here would be a good idea to be able to keep this operational. All right, so now let me hook this back up to the pruner or the extension. I'm going to go like this, pull up this little clip here, go right under. I want to make sure I get this locked down in place. It really kind of surprises me. I mean, this still does keep it from coming out, but I thought there'd be a little bit more of a positive catch right there. Then we've got this extra little hook here to be able to help store the pruner. And then we got the battery that goes on at the other end. So I know I can't get all of this in the frame, but you can see where my hands are clearly not on the trigger because they're out of frame on the other end of the trigger. And if I press it, it opens. But you notice what I didn't do was actually press that power button. So you can see there's a little interesting override whenever this is with the extension that I don't need to press the power button to turn it on. However, to turn it off, I can press this and it's off. Let me turn it back on again. And it's off. Now with it off, pressing the remote trigger, powers it right on. So you can bypass this safety using this auxiliary handle. Something that's an important little detail to note when operating this, that there is a bypass for that safety, but presumably if you've got the bypass handle on, well, you're fully aware of that, and you can obviously disarm it by taking the battery off, and it won't just probably fit or be left alone like this if you're storing or transporting the tool. So just a little heads up on the power situation regarding this auxiliary arm. And we will disconnect the tool. Obviously, you can see the power is off. And we will slide this back on, and we will try that same action right here with the trigger. Absolutely nothing. There is nothing there. Let's take a look at the back side of the tool here. You can see we got the usual 3 connectors, and there's a little bit of an extra missing, or a spot for an extra tooth there to go into the tool. Normally, if you look at the battery, there's a missing blank in that area where there is nothing present. But if we look at the extension handle, now remember, this is going to be flipped over to mate. There's actually an extension tooth right here in a spot that's normally blocked out. See the battery here side by side? Extra long tooth, normally completely solid and blank. And so that slides right into this groove. So maybe if you're like me, you're thinking, hey, wait a minute. Could I use this extension with another tool? What about, let's say, a ratchet? So this is the first generation ratchet. This isn't the current version. Let's go ahead and give that a shot. And if we go to slide this in, it's no-go because, well, there is no opening right here where that tooth would connect. Well, what about something newer like the pipe cutter? Well, it's the same thing on that battery socket there. This won't fully connect. And the same thing if we take the right angle impact driver. Again, we're in that same situation. It does not work. That the only tool that this is intended to work with is the clippers here, the power scissors, if you will, that has this extra special little detent here with the extra little squeeze prongs that bind and catch in sort of the reverse direction of the battery around that connection terminal coming off of the extension wand, which provides a communication for the trigger and allows it to wake it up, bypassing the power button and so forth with the rest of the connection and still providing that power through the other three terminals to the rest of the tool. So now the important thing is, does this actually work? Or is this just a fancy, expensive pair of scissors? Or can this actually replace a pair of pruners? We'll go out to the yard and we will have to put this to the test and find out if this actually works. All right, so now I've got a tree branch here that I want to cut down. It's getting a little bit low, it makes it hard to mow underneath it. And just for my fall tree trimming, I want to clean this up. This is a good little example here. I've been using this tool now for about a month, give or take, around my property to clean up my trees, and it works amazing. First thing you gotta do, remember to turn on the tool. It's gonna give you a little beep. Then I'm gonna press it to open up. It might already be open depending on how you stored it here. You can see where these blades here have already gotten kind of gummed up here. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and stick this around as close to where I can get it. Just as simple as that, quick little snip and cut, not much delay. And it's gonna cut reliably material, probably up to about the size of a quarter, slightly larger. And even some material, if it's a little bit weaker, maybe a little bit decayed, cuts things really, really well. All right, so now we're gonna do a couple more cuts here right on camera, that same branch I cut off here. Just slide it right on. And if we look at that cut quality there, nice and smooth and flat. Simple piece of cake right there, not a problem. Makes that look really easy. All right, so now I've got a small branch up here that I want to be able to trim off. So I've got the extension pole here connected. Make sure you get this clipped right here to secure the tool to the end. Yeah, there's the battery connections here. That provides a little bit of extra security right there. Now what's interesting with this in place, without even touching this button here, all I have to do is press the button down here and I can hear the beep. Maybe it's a little hard, and the tool is lit up there. You can see it's ready to go. Then I can just reach up and make that cut. Super simple, just like that, using the extension pole. This little hook right here has been great for being able to pull down some other branches or whatever else that gets up high and stuck, that you can reach in, grab what you want, and take it right down. Works great, makes it super simple, although it does get caught a little bit on the way up and around if you're trying to fish around, trying to do some delicate trimming to get exactly what you want cut and not cutting what you don't want to cut. Now I've got some larger material. I'm back with the tool just with without the extension here. Go ahead and push the button to turn it back on. It's interesting how with the extension you can use a trigger to turn it on, but without the extension you have to push the button here on the back of the tool. We're going to come over here, and this is definitely thicker than we had before. Give it a little quick cut. And you can see, in this case here, it did get kind of jammed up there into the wood. And when it gets jammed, it does auto retract out. And so now I'm going to have to unjam the tool. So this tool definitely has its limits. I'll see if I can get around it from the other side now. There we go. And so there is the size of the limb that caused it to jam right there. This is a maple tree, if you're keeping track at home. So now for that tree limb here that just caused the tool to jam, let's do a quick little measurement here. We're about 1.25 inches in diameter. So you can still get through 1.25 inch diameter, maybe a little bit thicker if it's softer, but this is kind of dry and kind of hard. This is a hardwood here, this is maple, and this is right about the limit of what this tool is good for before you need to go to a chainsaw. About 1.25 inches, plus or minus a little bit. You can see there's a little bit of a soft spot there, a little bit pitting there on the inside of that pith of the tree branch. So obviously your mileage may vary based on the specifics of your specific tree. All right, one more time, just so we know that's not a fluke here. After we've measured it here, get the tool engaged about as far as we can. And it retracted again. Give it another shot here. There we go. And it eventually cuts it. Again, that 1.25 inch area is about the upper limit on what this tool can do effectively before you need to actually move to a chainsaw. So now after you've used this a fair bit, you may notice some accumulation of some filth and junk along the blades here. You can see there's some sap built up. And otherwise here it needs to be cleaned with some oil, and it's taking some time to carefully rub that down. You may get some other buildup of debris around some of these gears because there is some internal greasing here, as well as like along the edge here. And so I've got a long Q-tip here. I don't know if this will be able to get all of it out here, but I can at least try to get some of this here cleaned up and out. Now on a regular basis, you are going to want to be able to grease or lubricate the tool here. It did come with a scrunch and an Allen wrench here that we can use to open up some of the mechanism here, that then you can adjust the tension here on the blades by adjusting this. So then right out here, we've got a left-handed thread screw that we can loosen to adjust the tension, to put the scrunch over the outside edge and be able to tighten or loosen that, and then retighten down our left-handed thread screw here to be able to adjust the tension. Now, if you want to remove the blade, you're going to need a security, I believe it's a T10 Torx, to open up and remove this cover right here so you can actually access the anvil and remove the blade assembly. Now, luckily, the manual on page 15 actually has some diagrams on how to do that here. I'll just put this here on the screen that shows you the steps on how to do that. So a little bit of extra effort required to actually care for the tool here. Now it is battery powered, so in the grand scheme of things here, you are presumably saving time and effort by using this tool, but you also have to maintain it just like you would any other tool. And then finally, like my one real complaint with this tool, and it's really hard to classify it as a complaint, is I always feel awkward carrying the tool with the jaw open, and I have to make sure I really make an extra effort to actually close the button, or hold it closed and then press the power button to actually have the jaw closed. Now I understand why it doesn't close automatically, because God forbid there be a finger or something stuck in there, or it catches your leg or your skin or your pants or something else when you don't intend it to, because this is definitely a tool that's not intended for children to use. You could easily lose a finger with this without thinking. Which then takes me on to my next point here, is that to make sure that it is out of away from my kids, I wish there was an easy way that I could sort of put this in a holster on my hip while walking around my yard so it was available when I needed it, but I didn't set it down and forget about it and have to go back to where I set it down last. There's not a great way to do that, admittedly, because you do have the sharp point here, and if it's open, it's even worse. There is no belt clip here or anywhere back here, but it'd be nice if there was some way that you could just put this into a holster or something on your pocket just to make it a little bit easier to keep track of and have it on you handy, because it is really handy if you're doing a bunch of trimmings and clippings to be able to have this easily accessible. And obviously part of the 24-volt system, so I've got tons of those batteries, makes it really easy. The trigger here, this little two-handed flip trigger here, kind of like you get on some of the miter saws, not a big deal. Overall, I'm really loving this tool. My only other complaint is I wish the extension went even farther, but I feel like no matter how far it went, I'd probably always wish I would always say wish it could go a few inches farther. Now, when it comes to storage, it does come with this plastic storage case, which it kind of fits in, if you will, whenever it's closed here. that I can reach in and put it away like this and then button it up. It doesn't really fit perfect, but it's at least something, I guess, to protect the blades when it's in the garage and hanging up. Not a great way to hang this tool in the garage either. That's the other sort of little side bit with this. But as far as its handiness, this is amazing. I love this tool. It's great. And if you get one, don't let your kids play with it. Definitely not safe for kids. It's very simple to think it's like a pair of pliers or a pair of pruners. But because of how quickly it cuts and how powerful it is, somebody could really end up on the wrong side of an accident here really quickly. But other than that, this has been fantastic. And if you're looking for a pair of pruners and you got the 24-volt system, don't hesitate on this. This is great. I'll put a link somewhere around here if you want to go find these at Lowe's. They offer it with a kit, without a kit, with battery and a charger, meaning with a kit. And so if you like videos like this, go and give it a thumbs up. Click the subscribe button down, somewhere down here. It helps make videos like this happen more often for you. Thanks for watching, and as always, have a great day. Bye.